Well, we've been talking about food all morning. It's 12:30. Rajiv is talking about chef and sommelier, and we are the last thing between this moment and this most amazing lunch, which is chef catered. I heard the most amazing. Who's hungry? Yeah, all right. Before that, it is my pleasure to invite to join me here, Casey from Shopify. All right. And then we'll have Brandon from Betterment. Please have a seat. And Evan from Tuft and Needle. So our topic today is a debate around customer delight and effortless experience. We thought we would take it a little bit differently. And to start the topic, I'd like to ask each of you to introduce yourself and your role in your company, a couple minutes, and then give your own definition, considering you're in 3 different industries with very different business and customer experiences around delight and effortless. Casey, would you like to start?
Okay. My role at Shopify, just to give you a little backstory, I've been there about 5 years now. We've scaled our support team from 2 people up to about 350 in that time, and we're expecting to double in the next year. My role now is I'm the architect for what we deem conversational infrastructure. So I put in the tools like TalkDesk, and we use Zendesk as well, those types of things. My stance on effortless versus delight is I really feel like you actually have to do both, but you really have to pick one to optimize for. What your product is, whether it's a service or a product, that changes things a little bit. In our world, we try to optimize for effortless, but we don't avoid delight. I look at delight as just a definition of a very happy customer, and in our circumstance, we try to make those interactions as easy as possible, but also, if we make them successful, that's when we make them happy and delighted. So that's my stance.
Right.
My name is Brandon. I'm from Betterment. So we're an online investing company, automated investing in general, robo-advisor, if you will. And so the big challenge that we have is how do you take a product that has robot in the name, essentially, and make a human element to that. So effortless is a huge thing for us in the sense that we want it to be an easy thing for people to do transactions. We want it to be in the background. If we're supposed to be doing it all for you, then obviously that should just have a lot of low friction, those types of items. But the delight aspect comes in as well because it makes people happy. And typically when people think about financial advisors or really anyone touching their money, happy doesn't come out of their mind. So they typically hate them. They want to strangle them when the markets are bad. So for us, it's a huge thing. Can we make this a very seamless situation and also you make them happy enough where they'll tell their friends about it and they'll actually use it. So that's, for us, I'd say it's a bit of a mix in that regard.
I'm Evan. I'm the head of people at Tuft and Needle. We're an online, vertically integrated mattress company, upending the mattress industry. And we actually just opened our first store here in San Francisco, so everyone should come by and check it out in Soma. When we think about effortless and delight, we like the mantra for effortless around the best service is no service, and sometimes your customer doesn't want to talk to you. They just want to have their package delivered on time, in our case, have the mattress delivered. But delight is also really important to us and probably more important. And that's the opportunity to create a human experience and connect with your customer in a meaningful way. And so just like remote teams are difficult to build trust with internally, talking to your customer over the online channels can also be challenging. So we take the opportunity to delight our customers and create a lasting memory of our interaction.
Great. So, as a customer, everybody is looking for this attractive delight experience, delightful. And with delightful comes the idea of it's going to cost a lot of money for the company to deliver, going over and beyond. So talk to us about the ROI of delight and what does it take to justify it. Casey?
Our approach on this actually, I'll go upstream a little more. Our approach on this is we've actually merged our sales team with our support team. We deem them gurus, and not only do they solve technical support issues, but they actually help people run their business. They maybe give them a suggestion, a marketing tip, or how to do something marketing related, just to help them be successful. So that's really our North Star, is helping our customers be successful. One way we have justified the ROI on this is we have something internally we deem as the ask. So what our philosophy is that if someone contacts us and they have a problem, we solve that problem, we have a great human conversation with them, that's a good time to present a cross-sell or upsell. But we actually take that one step further, and we're not just trying to squeeze more money out of the customer. We're a little bit lucky with our world because we are successful when our customers are successful and their businesses do well. So we only present cross-sells and upsells when they actually save the customer money. So it's a really easy conversation. Hey, when you say, I just solved your technical support issue. By the way, I'm just looking at your plan. You can actually save $30 a month if you do this. So that's how we approach it. We're not pushing it. We're just trying to make it better for the customer. And we've actually been so successful at it that our support team is in-house, a large team, and it's actually a cost-neutral thing for us. So it doesn't actually cost us very much money because we're able to offset that with the extra cross-sells and upsells.
When we think of ROI for us, it comes from acquisition, it comes from how much does it cost to really support people, but we have our CX group as part of our product org, and so it's baked into what we do every day. So the last panel was talking a lot about the UI and UX design people and those items working with the CX teams. We regularly have them do product kickoffs, we have them run user interaction interviews, those types of items, and it's really become a situation where, for us, we don't really look at the teams as being a cost center. We actually look at them as being just paramount to what we do on a daily basis. Because if we're able to, have the internal customer be as good as our 160,000 clients that are out there and understand all those user stories, the product that we end up giving to the end client is extremely intuitive, and that's usually what people tend to associate with it. It's very easy to use, and that in turn leads to more word of mouth. And so, the LTV on a word of mouth customer is a lot less than if you had to go acquire them. And in financial services, that LTV is really high a lot of times. And so anything we can do to make the product more intuitive and bring those customers back into that is a huge win for us. And so having the CX team be an extension of the product team has just paid huge dividends for us and made it a much better product overall, because the service that we provide is our product. People can look at it. We don't make widgets. We don't make a physical thing, and they'll look at the app and that kind of stuff as being the product. But we tend to believe that the service people get and that experience is really what they're seeking and what they're looking for change out of. So.
Yeah, and at Tuft and Needle, it's a core pillar of our brand. If you've ever been shopping in a mattress store, it's a terrible experience. And so providing a delightful experience is really how our brand stands apart from the rest of the industry. And then we can also quantify that as well. We use Net Promoter Score more than any metric to rally the company together. Our Net Promoter Score is 80 overall. It's 90 when somebody mentions customer service as a reason to recommend to a friend. 20% of customers mention customer service, and that's not even including all of the customers who mention our customer experience team by first name. And that's a really delightful experience when that happens. And so the company has scaled from 1 million to 100 million in 3 years, and still over 50% of our acquisition is organic. It's word of mouth. So our paid acquisition remains a low percentage of our revenue because of the customer experience team.
So a lot of that is relying on amazing people. Talk to us about how you hire for them and how you train them, and make that actually the secret of the customer experience. Do you want to start? Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things we do at the company is, actually as part of the offer letter, we tell every single employee of the company, software engineer, marketing, your first 2 weeks of the company is going to be embedded in our customer experience team. It's not just answering phone calls, emails, and live chats, and they'll actually do that as well. It's working our retail store. It's meeting the customer experience team and understanding and empathizing with them. And a lot of companies say, hey, this costs too much money. How do we find the time to do it? Well, if we've been searching for a software engineer for 6 months, what's 2 more weeks to make sure that they understand what our brand is all about? Another thing we do with that training is we make everybody go to a mattress store, pose as a customer, and as soon as they leave the mattress store, they have to write what we call the hate list. And the hate list is everything they hated about that experience. And so they truly empathize from the beginning, from day one, with our customer experience team and make it paramount to everything that they do.
Great. Hate list, Brendan?
We don't have a hate list, but I'm sure we could probably get some pretty good ones.
Yes.
I think for us, we tend to look for people that have a lot of the intangibles, so they really understand empathy, and so a lot of our team comes from education background. Some of them come from acting and that kind of stuff. They're able to really interact with people very well and be very engaging. We don't specifically target people that have financial services backgrounds, which usually surprises a lot of people. But at the end of the day, I can teach pretty much anyone in this room, given enough time and interest, about financial services, investing, personal finance, all of those different items. But I can't teach you how to have a personality. And the personality is so difficult, but it's so important that we've really focused on that. But similar to having, your offer letter, we do something called Customer Week. So everyone in the company has a Desk.com account to read customer emails at any time. They can go in and search through them. But everyone from the CEO down to brand new engineers, they will take phone calls, do live chats, do emails. They have a week where they do a few hours each day on that. We do a little retrospective on that. And what we found is really interesting. There'll be engineers who will happen to be talking to a customer. And once they get over the fear that this person's going to bite their head off, and they realize that, oh, no, actually, they really do love your product and they're very complimentary, they'll hear about a bug, they'll talk through it. And there's multiple times where they use that time to actually troubleshoot and triage that bug, and they get it fixed. And so that's been a really rewarding thing. And so the next time they're creating a transaction algorithm and they're thinking about Mary in Des Moines, who just gave us her life savings, and is this going to make sense to her? And so you get that little bit kind of creeps into their everyday life. And I think that's been a huge thing. But it's not easy to hire these kinds of people. I mean, CX people versus a customer service team, it's extremely different. And so hiring that becomes kind of our big burden, I would say.
Yeah, for us, we're not unlike Brandon in a lot of ways. We onboard the majority of our company through support. We actually just recently hired a new VP of engineering, and he literally answered phone calls for days on end before he started his role. We also feed people back into the company. We have upward attrition into the company in other areas as well. We hire very much for personality and empathy. So we feel like we can teach the skills. Our world changes so fast and so often. Anyway, everybody just has to be a quick learner, and you have to continually evolve and adapt. But similarly, the one thing you can't teach is that human connection. Our mantra is really to have engaging conversations with our customers, because we know that people that have those engaging customer experiences with us make more money. They pay us more money. Everybody wins. So the more we can really do that and push that empathy and push that human connection, that's really what we're trying to do.
Okay, so you guys bring in amazing people. You've been hand selecting them, great personalities. They know or know your business. Now, what happens when they get into the firm and now you have this job that sometimes can be called, like we heard Spot Hero call them customer agent heroes. Others call them the necessary evil. How does delight and effortless plays into how the perception of this team enables them to be successful?
So I think, because we do the Customer Week program, that's been massive. So we, from day one, so I've been with Betterment for about 5 years. When I started, there were about 10 people. There was no customer experience team. There was a product team, and CX was kind of seen as something that we probably would someday need to do. Because it started very small, the CEO, was taking phone calls. John's a very personable guy. He loves talking with clients. He loves engaging with them. It's sometimes can be hard to get him off the phones at times. But that we started to see the benefits of doing that with our design teams, with our marketing and growth teams, and because they talked with clients, a lot of the things that they were doing and then the ideas that they were having were landing a lot better. And so institutionalizing that in the culture of the company. Now it's one of those things where very often after someone gets done with Customer Week, they'll say something like, I didn't realize how difficult this role is, because you guys have to know not just everything about the product, but then all of these edge cases, and have to be experts in so many of the edge cases. And the team feedback when we do company engagement surveys has been really positive. That they feel like a valued member of the company. They don't feel like second-class citizens in the company. We try to bring them on company trips to when we travel, those kinds of things. And you have to make sure that your vendors and your services are able to be remote and quickly scalable and that kind of thing. But having them feel valued and having them there is probably the reason we've never had anybody leave. So we have actually a 0% turnover rate. There's only one person that we let go, and it was a mutual thing. But nobody's actually left the team, which has been really a huge badge of honor for us. And they typically will say that that's because of how engaged and they feel like they're learning something new every day. And so that learning aspect, I think, is really big, and you've got to keep them engaged.
Casey, maybe tell us on that point, like, how does delight actually play a role into enhancing kind of that recognition piece?
Yeah, I think it all circles back to the empathy piece again as well. I mean, if you look at our customers are entrepreneurs, and we hire people that value entrepreneurship. We hire people that understand how difficult that is to do, and they're given the opportunity to remove roadblocks and allow people to do that. So it's very rewarding in the sense that we really can make you. I've taken calls with people who might be a single mom at home trying to start a store, and you actually make a difference. And people buy into that, and they feel that. It's altruistic because they really feel like they're making a difference. And the other thing, too, is that we take feedback from those interactions and feed them back into the product. So we're very diligent about that, about saying to the frontline support team, like, you know this as well as anybody in the company. We want to hear from you what customers are saying so we can feed that directly back to the product team. We have a program we call Bridging the Gap where engineers sit with support teams all the time, and we just really, really try to emphasize that we need to take that feedback from the customer and make it back into the product. And in that sense, we look at support very much as its own product.
Yeah, I would just add, and all of us talked about this before we came on the stage, is that it's not just support, right? It's not just answering the phones and emails. So at Tuft & Needle, all of our experienced team members have other responsibilities that extend beyond answering phones, emails, and chats, whether that's community outreach, identifying the charities that we donate mattresses to. Actually hiring across the entire company is led by our customer experience team because we want everyone to have empathy, and who understands empathy better than that team. And then on the more mundane tasks, the things that are repetitive and boring, well, that's the mandate of the software engineering team. Can you automate that so that we're not hiring individuals to perform boring and repetitive tasks? Software is great at doing really dumb things over and over again. And so we unleash our engineering team to make it so that our customer experience team spends the majority of their time working on delight.
Yeah, I think you also have to make sure that you're hiring people that want to do this role. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, maybe it happens more in our industry, but there's so many times you interview somebody and you can tell they don't want to do this. They don't want to do customer experience. They want to do design. They want to be an engineer. They want to go into growth or marketing or that kind of stuff. And as engaging and charming as these people might be, just don't let them on your team. Just don't do it. Because if you do, they're going to be there for 6 months. They're probably going to be a high performer at some level because they're going to force themselves to do it, and they're going to start looking for something else. And you're going to create turnover. Then you're going to start creating other people that they resent them. They're like, oh, why did this person even show up? They don't want to be here, and that can be really corrosive to your CX team's culture. So you really want to make sure that you're getting people that really want to do this, because that delight element, there's a certain aspect to it. I'm not against the delight, but there's a certain aspect that has to be organic. They have to want to do that. It just has to happen organically. And if it doesn't, it's probably because that person didn't really care about helping them anyways. They wanted to move to some other part of your work.
So a lot of people in the audience probably thinking about how to cut on some of the cost around that. And so, we're all thinking about self-service. And so now that you've developed all this empathy, what happens when self-service come into play, and how do you keep this delight front and center? Do you want to talk to that, maybe? Okay.
One way we try to approach it is, self-help is not just support mitigation. We try to look at it as what type of issue are you having. Internally, we during these hot conversations and cold conversations, and we try to have cold conversations. Might be an example of how do I do X in the product. That's a simple reply with a doc, show someone how to do it. There's no emotion attached there. It's pretty simple. But once you start to talk about money, and again, our customers are running a business on our platform. So if they call us and maybe they haven't set things up properly and they say, I don't have money deposited in my bank account, that's a highly emotional conversation. So we really try to shift those to having a human conversation. So when we're talking to someone about maybe a cold conversation that switched to a hot conversation, then we really want to switch that. That's not a self-help topic. That's something they need a human for. They need a connection, and they need someone that's going to make that better for them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time I go to these conferences, you hear people talk about leveraging your community to do the support, and I think that's great if you can. But in personal finance and investing specifically, we're literally not allowed to do that. We can't. It falls under testimonial, so the SEC, this prevents us from doing those types of items. If we control a message board, even though it's customers helping each other, if we have any control over that, then we can get fined and that kind of thing. So, in people's life savings, it's hard to find things that people get more emotional about that, even more so than family at times. And so trying to find a way to make things, the product itself more intuitive has actually been where we focused on. And so making it very easy to use, allowing someone to just kind of sit down and in the first couple of minutes they've got the account set up, and anytime we can have the end of a user test and they just kind of look up and say, is that it? Are we done? They say, yeah. And that means that we've hit it right on the head, because they didn't have at one time to talk to us or ask us about something. And doing things like proactive support, reaching, if you see something wrong in the database and getting to them before they can email you, that's a way of increasing the effort that they had to expend. And so that's kind of how we look at that. But we can't do some of the cool things where you're leveraging groups and communities and those kinds of things as well. But I'd like to. It's not allowed. So.
Yeah, and I would just say FAQs are in like a self-help center. It's just another channel that your customer gets to pick from. That's how I view it. So whether it's live chat, it's a phone call, it's email, or it's a help center, let the customer choose the path that they want. I've often found that the individuals who call us on the phone want a more delightful experience. They want to talk to a human being. It's more of a trust issue. I'm going to buy a mattress off the internet. Like, I've never done this before. Let me make sure that there's somebody real behind that company that can answer my questions. And for other individuals, they're very comfortable with it. So I actually think help centers do a great job of weeding out individuals who don't need to be delighted. They're happy to go through the customer experience journey by themselves.
So I'm looking at the clock. Do we have a little bowl for a Q&A version? Anybody has thank you. This is my test. I really wanted to try this. So anybody has a question for our panel? Otherwise, I have many more. Happy to take. Okay. All right. Well, I have a question around the desirable topic of AI that we have to talk about, considering this topic here. And so, coming back, Evan, to your point about choosing the right channel when we're talking about content, how does AI, you think, will change your way of thinking about your operations?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest gaps remaining in AI, and I'm not a subject matter expert on this at all, but we all just talked at length about empathy and delight. And I think while AI right now might be great at, detecting the language that somebody's talking about, trying to figure out what their problem is and presenting an FAQ, when will artificial intelligence be able to provide that feeling of empathy? And for a brand like us that's all built around trust, at what point is that not appropriate for a customer? If a customer thinks that they're talking to a human being on live chat and they're actually talking to an AI system, like what kind of trust have we built with the customer? Is the customer comfortable with that? So I think I'm excited to see where it goes. The growth in the area has been incredible recently. I'm not sure that the customer experience team would be the first place that I would think to use that technology.
A few thoughts on that, maybe?
Yeah, AI has been pretty hot in our space right now because we literally, our value proposition is that we're replacing a human financial advisor. And so if you're replacing a human, then clearly AI would have to be there. But I think that right now, the things that are predominantly out there that are claiming to be AI, they're just not really AI. They're just kind of algorithms with some triggers and that kind of stuff. So, that's not true AI. True AI is machine learning. You're giving boundaries, and you're sort of teaching this inanimate object to be able to solve problems. I think that there's always going to be something that people want out of an individual conversation, especially revolving around money. They want to talk to someone, and you have to allow them to do that. But at the same time, there's always going to be a group of people out there that they don't want to talk to a human being. They just want to get very quick answers. And I think that's where AI will come in for a lot of that transactional-based elements. Where's my withdrawal, where's my deposit, those kinds of things. That's probably going to be where the majority of that goes, is for us in the future. So.
Casey, you're the last thing between us and lunch.
I'll be quick. Personally, I'm most intrigued about the more Facebook M model of AI in our space. I see it more as a way to start conversations, a way to have those low-value conversations. For example, we might have somebody try to call us about setting up a domain. They don't want to have that conversation. We don't really want to have that conversation. It's not adding a ton of value. So maybe we can start something like that with a chat bot, and then again, channel shift when it's emotional or when it's necessary. I kind of see the future of omni-channel, putting it more in the hands of the agent and allowing the agent to switch channels. That's, AI is what's going to allow us to do that.
Great. And with that, you have the amazing opportunity to talk to all of our panelists this afternoon for follow-up questions. And with that, we're ready for lunch. Thank you so much for this great conversation. Big time.